All right, y'all. So to start the sphere, you need to start with your white chalk. And with the white chalk, the first thing we're going to do is to draw a circle in the middle of this kind of leftover space that we have on our practice paper. So your circle, I'm going to start out with just like a light circle, just like this. Just kind of draw, don't push hard. It needs to fill up most of the space. It's about the size of my fist, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it definitely needs to be a circle, right? So don't make a jelly bean. Talk to your neighbor if you've made a jelly bean. Hey, what do I need to do to fix this? And then when you are done through the middle, I'm going to lay my ruler down like this, and I'll draw one line for the table line on that side and one line for the table line on the other side without moving the ruler. And now we're going to start with whatever the light color is in your grouping of tones. I am going to go butter yellow, and I'm going to go bright yellow, and I'm going to move into oranges and reds because that's what I want to use, guys. You may choose whatever warms you want to use, either analogous or monochrome. But this is the way that I'm going. All right, that doesn't mean you have to go this way. That's just the way I'm going. So take your lightest color, whatever one has the most white, and using the sphere as a guide, you're going to lightly add in the highlight zone. So I'm not going to push hard with this. I'm just going to lightly add in the highlight zone. You will do multiple layers on it. This is just a beginning. And blend. Remember, our goal is to do this as neatly as possible. So as you're blending, try to push the tones back in. Do your best not to extend too much on the outside. We need to practice how to get this to work without making a big, disgusting hot mess. Now I'm going to take my next tone and come out from that center tone. I will go over mine again. I can see that it is very weak and weenie-like, and I don't like it. But I'm going to fix it in a mo. Nope, it's just the next lightest, right? So if you numbered them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in terms of their darkness, that's how we're going to use them. Okay, do your best to try to push the pastel in without shaking your paper on stuff, because you won't be able to shake your chalk square. Right? We're not shaking stuff outside. That won't work. Right? And then you need to go to the next darkest or next change, a little intermediate color. Checking out your sphere reference. Gently rubbing your finger on them. Now I'm getting kind of a light tone. I am absolutely going to go back over this. Try to stay inside of the sphere. We're staying inside of the line. Bless you. Blend one color over another color to get that smooth transition. To get rid of some of the dust, I'm drawing it down into the area I haven't drawn yet and then just rubbing it in, right? So it can go down here. I'm just gonna layer stuff on top of it, and that can help keep it clean. All right, and then move on to your next color whenever you're ready. And I'm gonna get this bright red down here. All right, things are smoothing out quite nicely. Now I'm going to move on to my brown that I chose. Brown is warm most of the time. There's some cool browns, like some of your really dark browns that look green. That's a cooler toned brown, but these ones that are kind of terracotta colored, those are warm browns, and I feel like they belong with the reds and the oranges and can naturally make a dark. So this is my first layer. I'm going to pause the video real quick and walk around and check on you all. So now I'm going to go in just in opposite order. I'm wiping off my fingers because I have all of this red on my fingers and I want to make sure that my light color shows up. You can do this to get it to come out more. Just give it a try. It's okay to like and or hate it. Okay, and I'm just going over each color again, very lightly tapping and blending with my finger. I already did the majority of my blending, and with this second round of blending, I don't want to pick up the powder with my finger. I want it to stay in, so it's more of a tap than it is a wipe, right? The first layer of blending is a lot of wipe, wipe, wipe. The second layer is a lot of tap, 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 so that it stays in. Does that make sense? It's just a little bit different. So I'm trying to get it to hang out in there, but I want it to be brighter. And some of them you'll notice, like, they'll come out naturally, like this orange, this light, like true orange, it's coming out easy, right? It's like the chalk wants to be on the paper, it's happy to go on the paper, and I'm not having as much trouble. That butter yellow, that was hard to get out. It didn't want to go on the paper. It was having some feelings about life. So this should be pretty layered. Oh, it's getting a little light. And remember, we need those smooth transitions, right? So looking at your tones, making sure they're changing from light to dark in a very smooth way. Get all your tones in there. All right. For my background, I'm going to do monochromatic blue. I am now taking my dirty wipey and flipping it around because I don't want those oranges to get into my blue, right? And so I want to make sure that it's neat and tidy. I'm going to look at the reference picture and start with the lights. Our lightest tones are down here, and I'm using white for my lightest, and then I'm going to get into it with a little bit of that light blue. So I'm just going to start kind of layering it in. Oh, yeah, I did start recording. Good job. Bless you. Okay, and then I'm going to come up here and do a little bit of lightness, just a little bit of really light lightness around the top. Next, I'm going to start with my next lightest color, and for me that's this little baby blue. I'm leaving it open where the shadow's going to go. I mean, if I get there over it a little bit, it's going to be okay, but I don't want to have the really light colors in there, light tones in there. And then for the top, I don't think any of the top is that bright tone, so I'm just going to go over all of the white that I did at the top with my light blue. And I'm going to go real slow when I get close to the area of my sphere. And I'm pushing lightly and I'm going real slow because I want to cut in very closely to the sphere because I need to make my edges. I'm just smearing the crap that's in the background so that it gets flat and I can layer on top of it. So I've got like puddles of stuff back there, and so I'm just kind of rubbing it in so that when I lay the color on top it won't mix in with it too much, so I just rubbed it in. So again, being very close where it's careful and slow where it's close to my image so that it doesn't distort the picture, and it helps to make it appear to look three-dimensional because it's got a good close edge. All right, moving on to my next tone. I'm overlapping some of that light tone a little bit because that helps with blending, y'all. If you overlap the colors, it'll help with your transitions. Make sure you're checking with your reference picture, right? We have something that we're aiming for, so you need to make sure that you're looking at it as much as you look at your own drawing. I think the top of the reference picture is a lot darker than the bottom. Right? You see how it looks like whatever table this thing was sitting on is lighter than maybe the wall behind it. So I'm going to try to reproduce that in my sphere. I'm going right over that white line. I'm going to switch to this medium tone. Right, and you notice I'm holding it down with my non-dominant hand while I draw. If I don't do that, I feel like the picture looks like it's trying to get away. Like I scooted across the table with my pressure. Well, it looks like I'm still scooting it across the table anyway. At least you won't have to do that with your chalk drawings. They're not going anywhere, right? All right, and I got a weird little indent in my sphere, so I'm gonna wipe off my fingers, make sure that there's no blue, and try to go back and correct that a little bit. You just have to be real careful if you're switching colors to make sure that you wipe off your hands real nice before you go. All right, now I'm gonna start hitting it with this really dark tone. And then I'm going to go over here with the dark tone, and I'm going to take the dark tone, start bringing it in towards where the shadow will go. And get up here and get my dark tone going up here. Do your best to shade with tints, tones, and shades rather than using black. If you're using your other colors, it will look cleaner. And we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow when we do our tulips. Nice dark going on up there. Now I'm going to get my darkest dark, and my darkest dark is going to go in and become my shadow. I want it to get really close to the sphere, so I'm going to get close with my face and draw a very careful line. And then I will shade right up to that line. I'm going to push the pastel out from the line real quick before I start adding more pastel. Remember, your first layer of pastel should always be lightly pushing down lightly. Your pinky is a smaller blender, so you can use it to get into tinier areas. All right, guys, I'm going to... finish this guy up, I'm going to actually switch to this really dark purple because I don't think the shadow has gotten dark enough in there, and so I would like it to darken up a little bit more. So if I layer that on top, I feel like I can get a little bit darker of a tone. And then I'm going to go into it with my next lightest tone and kind of lighten up the area around it. And then let's hit it with the white again. It's pretty cool.